Hello, welcome guys back to Musings of Maverick channel. This is your host Maverick, and today we are going to be starting our watch of BanG Season 3. So, actually for my old subscribers, my old viewers here, it's been a while. I've just gotten back from my vacation. I'm still really trying to get my life and work back on track here. You know, taking a long vacation actually takes a lot of toll on me as well with, life stuff that I need to get out of the way. But come on, it's BanG, right? How can I not start this video once I knew that it had released? And it released a lot earlier than I was expecting. I was thinking that it was going to start sometime late in January. So once I knew this was out here, thanks to my good friend Matt of Culture, well, I needed to make a video on it, right? So, for those of you who've already been here a long time before, this is initially one of my very first series that I did while I was starting the channel. I've reacted to both Season 1, Season 2, and now in Season 3, right? But as is usual for this kind of things, I do hope to see some new faces here, and so, if this is your new time to the channel, let me explain things a little bit. So, I typically structure my videos into 3 different parts. I'll always have an introduction, or a recap at the very beginning, a blind reaction part in the middle, and at the very end here, I will typically do a review, slash discussion, slash musings part, right? Which, I typically like to say I'm not just a reaction channel. Honestly, my reactions kind of suck. If we're being entirely honest here, I'm not exactly that much of an emotional person, but I do like to go more in depth into some of the concepts that the anime or particular episode delves into, right? And particularly for BanG, I do think that I can speak a little bit more than even some other kinds of animes and topics, right? So again, a lot of you probably, especially since we're already in Season 3, maybe most of you already know what BanG is all about, but just to be on a safe side, let me explain again. So BanG is a multimedia franchise. I believe the official terminology is multimedia mix franchise, and this means that it covers a span of different mediums, right? From manga to anime to games to card games to merchandise, etc., etc. Lots and lots of different stuff, right? Now, for most people, probably their gateway into the BanG franchise would be through the game, right? The BanG mobile application game, also called Girls Band Party. It's a well-polished game. I still play it, and it's one of the only mobile games that I spend money on, simply because I want to support the franchise, and I still play it to this day. Still aiming for that elusive all-song full combo. Some to 28, level 28 and 29s are still giving me trouble. If you guys play it, you'll know what I mean, right? And of course, the anime itself is also I guess decently popular in a way, especially for people who do, for me, actually, my first foray into this franchise was through the anime. I first watched the Season 1 of this anime, and then I got into the game, and then I got into the rest of the franchise, right? So, as you guys might be able to tell, I am a huge fan of Poppin' Party, the main protagonist band. Not really because they are the protagonist or because of the anime, though. So, one very, very special thing about BanG, the franchise as a whole, and what's, for me, the most compelling part of this franchise is the fact that they hold live concerts. And these live concerts, they are actually being performed by the same voice actresses, the seiyus, that are being used in the game and in the anime. So the voice actresses of all the characters that you hear, well, sorry, not all of them, but a few specific bands, including the protagonist band Poppin' Party in the anime, they are also the same ones that will pick up a real instrument, real guitar, real bass, real keyboard, real drums, and get up on stage and perform, right? That to me is such a compelling thing. Live music is great. I play instruments as well, and I love it when they go this extra step to have this kind of experience for fans, right? I've literally flown to Japan just to attend their concerts, Poppin' Parties, of course, and that's probably something I will do in the future as well. So, anyways, this has been quite a long intro. We are now in Season 3. Honestly, most people thought that Season 3 would consist of probably the story of how Reza Suilin, the third real-life band, if you will, of the franchise, is going to be formed. But it seems that Pop and Party are still going to be the protagonists for at least this one more season. So, what exactly is the story going to be about? Let's find out together. Alrighty, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. ESP. The official instrument sponsor of the BanG franchise. You know, all the guitars and basses and whatnot are mostly ESPs. Like 90% of them are. Huh. This is kind of... Hey, Marina. Oh. The owner is here? Alright. So again, I highly doubt that there's any people here who haven't watched at least the first season, and, you know, this was the sort of antagonist for the first season, I guess you could say. What? Really? What? I mean, go you, I guess? Ah! Alright, hold on, I need to mute, for this. Because I don't want to be copyright struck. This is the opening theme song, performed by Pop and Party, Initial. Oh, hold on. I got... Yeah, this is the official, you know, pen light. I got this from the No Girl, No Cry concert. And by the way, I've already heard this song before. They already had a preview of this, and it's in the game as well. Yeah. Kind of calm though. Hey, Roka. And of course, it's referencing a lot of different events that happen within the game. So these are all, you know, events that happened within the game. Event stories. I mean, we all know that Roka is going to join Race of Suilin, so the question is how, of course. Hey, Poppy Ba! Yeah, why are you guys taking over the student council room? Well, this just screams that there's an event going to happen. Hey. Hi, Kakura. Alright, so they're still auditioning for guitarists. Or English. And here we go. Here's the incident. Wow, they are actually doing it at Budokan. I mean, the actual Bang Dream project, the actual franchise, the free bands that play live music have all performed at Budokan. The Seventh Live of basically Poppin' Party, Roselia, and Racy Sulin performing at Budokan. For Poppin' Party in particular, that was the second time that they performed there. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit more about the implications of Budokan a little bit later. Because you always hear about it in, you know, a lot of different music animes, or it's a common reference in general, right? But I guess not many people just go into, you know, exactly why it's significant to perform at Budokan. And yeah, in the anime, the girls, yeah, their goal is to perform at Budokan. Same with Afterglow as well. And a certain Hokkaido Tea Time. I know that's another franchise. Poppy papa peepa pa. I wonder if they're setting this up to also mirror again the real life performances. Because I seem to recall, my memory is a little bit fuzzy right now, but the next performance by the Bang Dream, you know, the Bang Dream live performers, the seiyus, the actresses, uh, Eighth Live should also be in Budokan, I think. And it's one where all 6 of the bands are performing as well. Well, technically only 3. Pastel Palettes, Afterglow, and Hello Happy World don't really have full, you know, the full band. Their seiyus don't have the requisite musical proficiency to perform, but their vocalist will sing. Shoot for Dreams, Bang Dream. That is the reason for the... Oh, hey. That is the meaning behind the title of Bang Dream, Shoot for Your Dreams. Interesting translation. Definitely. Oh. She definitely looks like a delinquent. But for real though, her because Race Sulian is comprised of professional musicians. You know, her real life, the voice actress. Well, technically, she's not a voice actress. She's a professional musician. Natsume. You know, her drumming is really on point. And I really want to learn about the backstory of Pario as well. Ah, so that's how she knows about Roka. Man, look. Ah! Oh, hi. It's funny seeing Arisa question what Bang Dream's supposed to mean. And again, I'll explain a little bit more about this as well at the very end. But, this goes into some more in-depth trivia of the Bang Dream franchise. But basically, the Puppet Party members are the people who actually originally coined the term of Bang Dream, particularly Kasumi and Arisa. Well, even not technically them, but again, I'll explain a little bit more at the end. Keyboard maid? Okay, so that's why is that why Chusha invited Popipa? So they could get Roka, who's like the #1 Popipa fan, to show up? Hey, Lilia. Oh. Immediately riot? Alright. And hey, they actually translated the song. Good on High Dive. Oh. An encore performance? Really? What are they gonna play? Unstoppable? Okay, what now? Alright. Okay. Since when? Alright. Choo choo, you are. Oh. Alright. And this song is, of course, the coupling track to Initial, again by Poppin' Party, which is, aiming for your dreams. Again, Bang Dream, literally. And hey, there's all the girls. Look at that Arisa flex. Ooh, I like this costume. Can't wait to see that. And there we go. That was the first episode of Bang Dream Season 3. See you guys in a second. Well, there we go. The first episode of the third season, of Bang Dream. And of course, I'm gonna love it, right? I would have loved it even if they put out a turd, and thankfully it is not that, right? Once again, it seems that they have created a series, a season where, you can enjoy both if you're a new viewer and if you are a little bit more engrossed within the franchise, right? There were quite a few Easter eggs within this episode itself that you probably only get if you are more deeply involved within the franchise. Specifically, when they mention a lot of the other bands here, like Afterglow, Past the Palettes, and etc., and what they were doing over the summer break and whatnot. Some of the scenes that were shown, you only really know if you play the game and you read through the event stories, right? And again, I highly recommend you guys, if you do have an interest in this franchise, to go check it out. They have an English version as well. You don't need to pay for anything, and you can read all the stories right then and there, and it's fully voice acted as well. So hey, that's a bargain, right? And of course, we are again, similar to season 2, it doesn't really seem much of a character introduction, more as just a, more of a fan service kind of thing. So they show each band, they show the different characters, and they say, hey, okay, we know that this is something that you guys will love, you fans will love, we're just gonna show it to you for a little while so you can feel satisfied, right? This is definitely, starting from season 2 and also this season as well, you need to have at least some kind of basic knowledge in order to further understand everything here, but at the same time, it doesn't detract from the story, if that actually makes sense. And I love how Roka is continuing her role of being the narrator here, even though this time it seems that the story is going to, as predicted, focus on how she entered Reza Suilan, right? And, credit to the writers as well. This time, just from the get-go, from this first episode, it seems that we already have a much more coherent theme than we had in Season 2. Now, don't get me wrong, I liked Season 2 as well, but it really felt more like a mishmash of concepts, right? Again, the way I always describe Season 2 to new people is that it's basically a fan service season. Like, that's literally it, right? The latter half of it did focus a little bit more on one unifying theme, with Poppy being the protagonist and the hardships and trials that they went through, but really a lot of the episodes themselves aren't really interconnected. It's more a case of, hey, there are 5-6 bands within the franchise here, and we know that there's fans of each. Here's an episode focusing on them, letting them play their music and concentrating on those different characters, and, allowing them to perform, right? Even though, technically they didn't really have a reason to perform and didn't really have much to do with the main story. But at the end of the day, it's these kinds of interactions between the girls and whatnot, and the music is something that a lot of people enjoy. Those other bands have fans as well, and it's basically a method to try and satisfy every single fan here, right? But at least with this, we already have a common theme here, at least, what's it called? Reza Suilan, Roselia, and Popipa. These three have, they're already interconnected in one way, right? Reza Suilan is trying to beat the other two, so, we already have the story has a logical progression here, and based on the fact that they are going to be hosting this sort of huge, girls band party, girls band audition event or whatnot, it also gives a good excuse for, for all of the different girl bands to showcase their abilities as well, right? Instead of trying to force it on, which, like, let's be honest, it did feel kind of forced within the last season. And talking about the actual live, so I did kind of misspoke during the episode there. So the live that is going to be next, which is going to feature all of the bands, is actually a special live in May. It's not the 8th live. The 8th live is in August. This one is a special live. That's going to feature all the bands. Again, for the bands whose voice actresses don't actually play their instruments, Afterglow, Past the Palettes, and Hello Happy World, only their vocalists are going to come and perform, whereas the other 3 bands, Poppin' Party, Roselia, and Reza Suilan, will feature their full members here. And yeah, we can look forward to that. And really, I do highly recommend checking out the live performances, the concerts of this franchise, because, like I said, that is a large draw for me in terms of this franchise as a whole, and definitely one of the main reasons why I still love this franchise so much. And what else? Looking forward to what's going to happen in the future. I do hope that we go through a lot more of the background story for the Reza Suilan members, because they aren't actually featured in the game yet. And I do know that they actually had a side story manga come out, but honestly, I haven't read that yet, and I don't know if I ever will. But it would be nice if they maybe talked a little bit more about all the different characters, how they got into Reza Suilan, etc., etc., to make us at least connect with these characters a lot more, right? So yeah, looking forward to that, and hopefully that's something that they will do. And really an interesting dynamic here, right? We already know that Roka is going to eventually join Reza Suilan because of, their real-world counterparts. It's just a matter of how, right? Especially in this case, Roka, we all know, or Locke, as they like to call her here, is a big fan of Popipa, and Chuchu has already directly said that she's trying to compete directly against Popipa. How is she going to, under this kind of dynamic, convince Roka to join her band instead, right? So that is definitely something to look forward to as well. And so a little bit on the trivia part here, right? So 2 things I want to mention here. One very quick mention of the entire, Budokan theme. Again, for those of you who actually maybe follow Japanese music or watch a lot of Japanese music related anime or manga or whatnot, probably already know the significance of Budokan. Or at the very least, you might be wondering, like, why is it such a thing that it gets brought up in all these different kind of situations here, right? So there's two facets to this. One is more historical, and one is more, I guess, practical in a sense. So the historical side of this is the simple fact that a lot of the legendary acts, and including the Western acts, they held their concerts at Budokan, right? Budokan is the name itself. Budokan means a sort of facility for martial arts. It's mainly used for professional matches, for martial arts matches. It's just a multi-purpose venue as well to hold concerts, and as well as graduation ceremonies, etc., etc. And for some reason, some of the earlier prominent Western bands chose this place to be their venue of choice of performance, right? And this includes legendary performers like the Beatles, like Bob Dylan, like Led Zeppelin, like Deep Purple, all those big names, right? And so, gradually it became this sort of thing where Budokan is, as they call it, the holy land, the holy site of rock bands. It's sort of like a rite of passage in a sort of way that if you are a rock band, you need to actually get up there on that Budokan stage to really be considered one of the big boys, right? One of the big players. So that is the historical context or the cultural significance of the Budokan. And if we look at the more practical side of things, there's also a very good reason that it's a good indicator of whether a band has made it or not. And that is related with its capacity size. So the Budokan typically holds around 10,000 people. You can plus or minus maybe 2,000 of that, depending on your specific configuration. But generally speaking, it's a 10,000 person venue, right? You go lower than that, and typically, so venues in Japan, and probably elsewhere in the world as well, they have these tier systems, right, based on their capacity. So for those, those live houses, music clubs and whatnot, you can typically expect it to fit around maybe 200 people, right? 200 people, and this is for more of the indie scene, right? The indie rock bands, indie idol groups or whatnot, they would perform at this kind of venue. You go, and then you can gradually increase it further and further forward, right? So maybe 200 people venues, and then you get to the point of like 500, 800, even 1,000, and then you have the the various ZEP venues like ZEP Tokyo, ZEP Sapporo, ZEP Nagoya, those kinds of venues, which then hold around 2,000, maybe 3,000 people, right? After that, there is actually a lack of venues that hold around 5,000-6,000 people. I'm not saying there aren't any, there actually are, but they're typically more on the they're typically more rare, let's just say. So then we have this big jump between these 2,000, 3,000 capacity venues all the way to 10,000, which is what Budokan represents, and also some other halls as well. And it's not something, this kind of capacity is not something that every band is able to fill, right? So there are a lot of bands that get stuck on this sort of, this 2,000, 3,000 size venue capacity. And, to actually be able to tell 10,000 people to say, hey, come to this venue, pay money for it and come and watch my show, that means something, right? That's when you really know that you've hit it big, when you have the ability to fill in the capacity of a Budokan venue, a 10,000 seat venue. And is particularly in the Japanese music industry, this has huge significance. So, the Japanese music industry is a little bit more anarchic, if you will. So, whereas in the Western world, streaming on YouTube or Spotify or whatnot is already a very well-established indicator of an artist's success. In Japan, this concept has only really recently started taking off, right? More importantly to them is actually in the sales, the album sales, the single sales, actual physical copy sales. And then the next thing, or for some people even more important, is how many people are you able to bring to your live concerts at a time. And this is also both accumulative cumulative, and that is like how many people that you can actually bring within a certain year to attend your concerts, as well as the maximum as well. So if you are a sort of 10,000 person band, that carries much more significance than if you were someone who could a band that could only fill in 2,000, 3,000 seats, right? So that is the practical reason for Budokan being a sort of indicator as to whether a band has really made it in the Japanese music industry. And beyond, okay, that tangent actually went a lot longer than I wanted to go. But one last piece of trivia, and one thing that I found pretty funny actually from this episode is the scene where they were talking about the meaning of BanG Dream, right? And the reason it's so funny is because, like I was saying, the origin of this word, really stemmed from both Arisa and Kasumi, right? So here we need to talk about a little. This is really more of the trivia stuff, very lesser known trivia stuff that you really need to dig deep into the franchise to know. So BanG Dream itself originated from a manga. The concept, the entire backstory of it, the main characters, Pop and Party, it was originally from a manga, and then later on, it was made into a light novel, and this was a manga / light novel that was released in around 2015 or so. And though the characters then, the Pop and Party within that manga, within that light novel, was actually completely different from the franchise that we know now, the Pop and Party we know now. There were no other different bands there. It was purely focused on Pop and Party, the members themselves, right? There were no other girl bands. There was no rivalries or whatnot. It was purely sort of a slice of life / coming of age / music story, focusing purely on Pop and Party. And so even the personalities were all different and whatnot. But one thing that came out of it, and the reason why the franchise is called BanG Dream, is because, again, this might go into spoiler territory, so skip this if you don't like it. But basically, within the original BanG Dream story, Arisa's father was the one who coined the term BanG Dream and passed it on to his daughter Arisa as well. And indeed, what BanG Dream means is aiming for your dreams and then shooting through it, right? So bang the dream. Bang the dream. Like that, the bang word definitely doesn't translate well into the English language. But anyways, and then Kasumi actually independently arrived at the same conclusion as well, and that's how she hit it off with Arisa. They got into this bond where at the very end they decided they want to form a band, and the rest is history. They recruit the rest of the Pop Party members, right? And so to see them from being the ones who are the most in the know about what BanG Dream actually means, and then to them here where they're actually discussing what BanG Dream actually means, is quite funny to me, right? Yeah. Again, this is very, very trivia stuff. And most people probably would not know about this. I happen to have read both the original manga and the original light novel as well. It's actually one of my favorite iterations of Pop and Party, though technically right now it's not canon anymore, right? They rewrote the story from the ground up to the story that we know today. But that is the origin of BanG Dream and why this franchise is called BanG Dream, and that's also why the very first original song of this franchise is called Yes, BanG Dream. And here, I guess we 5 years later, it's sort of being succeeded by this new song, which is the moment of piercing through the dreams, I guess, would be the translation of the ending song here. So sort of like going back to its roots in a certain way. And I am glad that they're doing this because even though in the original story that's been retconned, they properly explain why the franchise is called BanG Dream. So far now with this new iteration, they haven't properly done that yet. So now with this third season and with them actually acknowledging the situation, yeah, there we go. That brings it full circle, right? And I do kind of wonder like how much other stuff they are actually going to officially address, right, ever since they retconned the original story. But just a little bit of trivia for you guys, and I really do recommend if you can understand Japanese anyways, to go back and try to find the very original manga and light novel. There's new mangas right now, but they actually deal with this new version of BanG Dream and this new version of Poppin' Party. But if you go back to the original, the story honestly is really, really good. To me, and that's actually my favorite iteration of the fictional Poppin' Party. But that's going on a tangent. But anyways, that's been a long review. The next ones will probably not be as long. I am hoping for them to put a little bit more Easter eggs so that I can share more of this trivia information. Anyways, that's been the first episode of BanG Dream. Everything that I expected, and I am looking for more. So I will see you guys in the next episode as well. Stay tuned, and bye.